Hello. So it is currently April 10th, 2025, obviously. It has been about 5 minutes since the latest news has dropped for Death Must Die. Just a disclaimer, I'm going to get this out at the front first, just in case people get excited if they click on this video and be like, oh my god, is this going to be the real... Is it out now? No, it is not currently out, but it does contain the release date, and I'm making this video to kind of go over it just briefly, show off a little bit, but in a sense, if you've been in the Discord and you've had conversations with the devs, or you've been off the Discord, the reason why there has been no announcement date for a long time has been due to the fact that the devs didn't want to give one due to the history of the way that the announcement dates have worked. Every time the devs have given a date early, aka they've made a prediction of when they think they're going to end by, they've always failed to meet it, which then leaves a distaste in a lot of people's mouths, and they get upset, and it's just not a positive thing to have when you say that you're going to drop it on 1 week and then 2 weeks later it actually drops, right? So this time around, what the devs have done is they just gave a loose estimate of a month of when it could have dropped, and then as it gets closer towards being finalized and finished, then they're giving the release date, which is what they've done here. If we click on this here, for example, this is the new post, and it has a lot of little juicy tidbits inside it for the general theme of this new act that's coming out, as well as you can see where the time has been spent in terms of just the animations, the flashiness, and the just overall presentation. They have had a lot of time to cook, and the cooking has gone very well, and it's got me excited at least. And anyway, this is going to be the Dark Maw. We knew about this because of the previous Act 3 patch here, Act 3 announcement here, where they showcased it a little bit, where it just says April 2025, but they never really said the date on here. But this is going to be the Dark Maw, and this here is probably going to be the final boss. If we read this up here, you can see it says the Lady and the Tide. It's one of the lore excerpts from Lore of the Land, Volume 4. This will be something that you likely could find in the game as well, via the bookshelves. And it clearly says, the lady then came, and with her the tide, transforming the desert where death did reside. Marshlands blossomed, and the grasses grew tall. Her presence a gift, a green overhaul. So this is likely the lady. And you can see here, the tide is not capitalized, which in the English language, when you represent someone by name, the first letter of their name is usually capitalized. So the fact that it's not capitalized here leads me to believe that the tide is not another entity, it's just a metaphor for what she did to the land. She washed over the land, grew the deserts into being a overhaul of lush green swamp, and that's going to be the theme of the act. And you can see here as well, where once was desert now looks like dirt. It's got like some sort of growths coming up, almost like sea... I can't remember what they're called at the bottom of the sea. It's not seaweed, but it's like little anemone type stuff coming up, like the ocean floor has risen. And she is doing some sort of spell effect here, but I believe that this is the lady, and yeah, she is likely the final boss of the act. Now when we come down here, she says here as well, the lady, this is more about her, but there is no quote here. There is no thing to say that this is coming from in-game text sources like there is here. You can see this is all quoted. There's a Lore of the Land volume here, whereas this stuff doesn't have it, so this might just be flavor from the devs, or this could be in-game as well, and they just haven't said what the book name is. But the lady, once the keeper of the sacred springs and silver lakes, the lady now walks the still waters beyond the veil. Her grace remained intertwined with a newfound loyalty to death, which further includes the fact that this is the final boss. Thus was born the Dark Maw. So this is definitely not Act 2 deserts that have been turned into swamp. This is a completely new biome, like we already knew we were getting for Act 3. But it's cool that they're building out kind of like just this mind map that you could have of the acts. The bitter cycle never ceases. In masquerade of life, each death feeds a blossom that should not be. So this is likely meaning that things that should be going to the underworld, when they die, usually the cycle is one thing dies, another thing gets reborn, sort of things, cycle of life, etc. So this is likely saying that whatever she is doing with death is likely feeding something else for whatever death's like miraculous plan might be, etc., etc. And And then we come down to the Tide. So this is again representing the Tide thing up here. In Realm of the Living, Aegir, I think that's how it's going to be pronounced. It's either Aegir or Aegir. God of the Seas has suffered from his domain. This I do not believe is Aegir, and I'll mention that in a second. Even here in the land of the dead, water answers his call. Things long fought, drowned, stirred once more, and deep in the water something listens and something answers. So the reason I don't believe this is Aegir is because it's very flashy and very animated. I do not believe this is an enemy. I do not believe this is a boss. It could be a boss, but I actually believe this might be a blessing. And the reason that is, we already know that the new god that's going to be helping us, the players, is going to be whoever this Aegir is, the god of the seas, which is, if it's a god of the seas, it's going to give you water-based blessings. So this could be a new summon, a new legendary summon, or this could be a new legendary cast, which happens on a timed interval, much like Inferno or Day of Judgment, etc. So it gets a very flashy animation that just pops up occasionally and does a lot of damage. So what you could be seeing here is a cast that goes bam, big splash damage, and then more splash damage, and then just ends. And then you have to wait for the cooldown for it to begin that cycle again. That's my theory. And that's why I believe this isn't an enemy, because generally when we see gods in game, they don't have animations. They're just static images that talk to us on screen. And then when we come down, we see the Druid. This is going to be the next player character. We knew about this for a long time, that we were going to get a Druid. The Immortal Unique also indicate that it was going to be a Druid. This is likely going to be a medium class, again, like the level wearer stuff, similar to Skadi, because we already have 3 light wearers at this point, 2 heavy wearers, and only 1 medium. So this is likely going to be a medium armor type to kind of fill that void and give us another class that can use medium armor, so it doesn't feel as bad stacking up so much stuff just for Skadi. Now, the Druid is usually a shapeshifting type class in most ARPGs and most just RPG games in general. And we know that there's going to be some sort of shapeshifting mechanic coming with the Druid due to the Immortal Uniques we got, talking about forms. If I quickly come over to Death Must Die here, and I go into my stash, you can see here, oh no, not equipable, we go to Uniques, right here, whenever you enter a form, your next attack deals more damage and is guaranteed a critical hit, and this is for the Druid. So this leads me to believe that the way that you're going to enter forms as Druid is going to be based on talents. Now this could mean that the different forms generalize, specialize towards different things. You might have like a bear form that can use tankiness and some attack damage scaling. You'll have werewolf form, most likely. That's the most common 2 for druids in the game, which will likely be around the attack damage and the attack crit stuff. And then you could probably have some sort of caster form, like if you think about World of Warcraft, you have balanced druids that are moonkins, aka owlbears, all this sort of stuff that use astral powers to deal casting damage. So that will likely be a build that she has as well. And depending on which form you shift into, whatever the condition might be, it might actually change her properties to being something like a hybrid between either a melee character or a ranged character, depending on how you build her out. But we can clearly see in her hands here, she has 2 big old grippers. She has very, very big claws. So she is likely going to be wearing some sort of like gauntlet type weaponry. So she could just be primarily melee as well on top of that. Either way, Act 3 patch is announced at the bottom here, 25th of April. Very excited. Obviously, I'm going to be trying to get the world's first Act 3 D100 clear when it drops. I'm going to race for that as fast as I can. And then I'm going to be cranking out as many videos as I can, covering different builds for the Druid and every character, as well as some of the changes that might have come to them, because there is obviously going to be some sort of balance overhaul. There is, every major patch we've had has changed fundamentally how we build and how characters operate. Talents are probably something that's going forward. There'll probably be new ones taken out and added in for each character, etc., etc. This is all speculation. None of it's confirmed. All we know is they have been cooking. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.